So
I think it's
what
kind of interesting.
type of tequila are you drinking? Is it a blanco? Is it a reposado? Is it an añejo?
Oh my goodness.
Hey, welcome back to Thirst for Knowledge, where we
Welcome back, everybody.
drink and we learn things.
We drink and we learn
Drink
things.
and we learn things. Love it. What are we learning about today?
We are learning about a centuries-old drink called tequila.
Nice.
Sure, many of you have heard about it, but it has an incredibly long history.
Yes.
Tequila.
And what are you drinking? Or
You
trying
tell
to
me.
drink?
Actually, I'm trying to mirror what you were having. What was
So we are drinking a margarita. It's
Okay.
one without an orange liqueur. So it's a Bon Appetit recipe that I really enjoyed during the pandemic. I would have virtual happy hours with friends and I would make this margarita. So
I did that too. It was actually a lot of fun.
it was a
Virtual
lot of
happy hours are actually kind of a nice thing.
Yeah, I agree. It's
I am
strong.
not a tequila person. It is very strong. It is
Yes.
very good. I'm not very used to tequila.
So tequila is a type of mezcal,
Yes.
and it's made specifically from the blue agave
hmm
and from the city of Tequila in the central western Mexican state of Jalisco.
And by Mexican law, it has to be produced within those regions next to Jalisco. And it has to adhere to very strict production standards. Otherwise, it is not considered tequila.
Well,
Or not
apparently,
even allowed to be sold.
yeah, agave grown in other regions can taste different.
hmm
That's probably the, quality control of your product.
Yes.
Yes.
That was one
Blue.
of my favorite things learning about tequila, that it's very much like champagne.
hmm
Champagne's only champagne if it comes from Champagne. Likewise, tequila is only tequila if it comes from Tequila or the surrounding areas of Tequila. There's an actual place called Tequila. Now you know that. It's
Yes,
awesome.
it is awesome. One thing that I did not know is blue agave is not a cactus. Just so everybody knows, not a cactus.
I did. I actually had that thought going into everything. I knew it was made from something called agave, and I thought it was a cactus. But no, it is not.
It's not a cactus. The specific species for tequila, agave tequiliana. So this particular species has a high production of agavins, which are branched oligosaccharides made mostly of fructose. Okay, oligosaccharides, science term. It's a polymer, and polymer just means lots of things stuck together. And this one is so it's an oligosaccharide because it has a small number of simple sugars stuck together. If it's a polysaccharide, it has more numbers of simple sugars stuck together. And so agaves are not cacti, they are succulents. So they have spiky, fleshy leaves. They reach over 7 feet in height.
Yes, they do.
Big.
They're huge.
And it can take 8 to 12 years before they're ready to harvest. In the 7th to 14th year of the plant's growth, you remove the heart of the plant
Right.
to make the tequila, and that's stripped of its leaves. And the hearts can be up to 200 pounds. I don't know why I thought it was like grapes, where you pick something small and then you mash it. No, the tequila process is not for the faint of heart. You gotta lug some things around.
You do.
Yes. So you roast it. You roast the core, and that's pressed to release the sugary clear liquid, which is fermented and distilled into tequila. And
There's the traditional method of using a stone called the tahona, which was used to crush and press the tequila and try to extract the juice. It's a slower process, but it's believed to produce a much richer, complex flavor because it's a more gentle process. For mass production, modern techniques use mechanical shredders and presses.
Ooh.
And like clean stainless silver type environments. It very quickly breaks down the agave and it's faster, but it produces a cleaner, less nuanced taste. And so some producers, they mix it. They produce the bulk of their product using modern techniques, but they still use like 25% or maybe a third of the old way. And so they blend that in, and then you can kind of get hints of the older flavors. And there are some tequila connoisseurs who can tell you just by one taste Yep. They used stone or they didn't. I
So
think it's
what
kind of interesting.
type of tequila are you drinking? Is it a blanco? Is it a reposado? Is it an añejo?
Reposado.
Okay, so you have an aged tequila,
That's right.
between 2 months and 1 year, mostly aged in barrels once used for American whiskey.
Oh, cool.
hmm I have a blanco, which is only aged up to 2 months, so it's kind of younger notes, citrus, grass, pepper, as opposed to those kind of aged flavors. There's also añejo, which please forgive my pronunciation, which is extra aged, 1 to 3 years, and extra añejo, which is a minimum of 3 years aged. So you can get really down into that vanilla kind of flavor from the
Okay.
oak barrels. That
Okay.
was kind of
I see
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I just have a reposado. Reposado. Not reposado. Through an extra S. Reposado.
So we were talking about quality control, right?
Mhm.
So how do you determine the quality of your tequila as a producer or monitor its aging process or its alcohol content? So there are established methods like spectrophotometry, which we both love.
We talked about that before, which I find fascinating.
Yeah, me too. But these require a fair bit of time and very
Hmm.
expensive equipment and highly trained personnel to do. So what if you just want like quick, is this tequila going to be good or not? So a paper published in the journal Biosensors, also a candidate for coolest journal name, in
Awesome.
2021, looks at a different type of test for tequilas. So they took a Raspberry Pi computer, the really small ones,
Yeah, those little itty bitty things.
yeah, little itty things, an 8 megapixel image sensor. And so this sensor allowed images to be collected of silver aged and extra aged tequilas. They processed the images using analysis of the red, green, and blue component of each image's pixels. The data was analyzed using a statistical method called principal component analysis, which is basically a statistical way to do data clustering. And then they used additional statistical methods to develop a qualitative evaluation of the tequilas. So this method of just taking a picture and using this little computer had a sensitivity of 90.02% and a specificity of zero point 0.9. So sensitivity is the ability of the test to correctly identify the silver tequila as a silver tequila.
Okay.
Specificity is the ability to correctly identify an alcohol is not silver tequila when it wasn't. So it's false positive and false negative rates. And so a sensitivity of 9% is really pretty good for a test. And so the authors developed this way to identify different types of tequilas without a lot of expensive analysis equipment. You could use these images, and I'm assuming that the images are fairly unique to the type of tequila and maybe to the quality of that type of tequila. So if you keep doing these tests, you might be able to come up with like patterns to look for that you want your tequila to hit this particular image pattern to be of this
Right,
quality
right,
for this type of tequila. And it's a snapshot, right? So it's not this like
right.
I love spectrophotometry, but it takes a minute or
It
more.
does.
So, and it's finicky. It can be a finicky test.
That's incredible.
Fun fact. Hit me with a fun tequila fact.
Fun tequila fact. We're all very familiar with the ritual of salt, tequila, and lime. You put a little salt on your hand and then you lick it and you shoot the tequila to get it down and you bite the lime.
Mm-hmm.
Originated in Mexico. And while a lot of people think that that's the way you're supposed to drink tequila, actually it's associated with drinking some of the lowest quality tequilas,
Mm.
such as mixto. Salt helps mask the harsh taste of the low quality tequila.
Mm-hmm.
Then you shoot it just to get rid of it, and then you bite the lime for a little zesty contrast. And while it's not part of the traditional tequila drinking culture, it's a very popular custom in bars simply because it's a fun thing to do. And
Yeah.
it's a little messy and it adds to the whole playfulness of going out to have a drink. But really what you're doing is you're celebrating bad tequila.
I think, I do think some of the ritual around cocktails or specific types of alcohol is part of the allure. right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
absinthe had a
Mm-hmm.
very specific
Absinthe.
ritual that you had to do.
That's
But
right.
if you think about like popping open a bottle of wine, like you hear the pop, you can smell the
Mm-hmm.
cork, put it in, you switch it around, you get like there's I think that's part of the experience too. It's not just the
Absolutely.
drink.
It's not just drinking it. There's a whole getting ready.
Hmm.
Kind of builds
Yes,
up some anticipation. It's actually kind of fun.
it
Again,
is.
the salt and the tequila and then the lime is just it's, it's a good bit of messy fun.
Agave, not just good
Hmm.
for tequila, but it's used in traditional medicine for a long time for a
Yes.
large variety of things, including inflammation. So there was a paper published that looked at agave for neuroinflammation. So neuroinflammation is inflammation of the central nervous system, and that occurs in response to injury or infection or neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. This 2022 review in the journal Plants. So they looked at the literature, all the literature, to explore the impact of agave products on neuroinflammation. And there's a ton of papers that looked at agave species as pharmacological properties and immunomodulators, but only one study that has demonstrated the ability of these products from agave to reduce neuroinflammation. And a lot of that has to do with the blood-brain barrier. It's a hard thing to get past, rightfully so. But if you're treating a neurological condition, that's where you want the drugs to go. So it looks like there might be promise, but not a whole lot has come to fruition in that particular category yet. So many pharmaceuticals on the market today are
Hmm.
derived in one way or another from plants. Yeah, that was very serious. Okay, give me something not so serious.
That's the serious I got. Something I found fanciful and I thought was incredible. Researchers at the National Autonomous University of Mexico discovered that vaporized tequila can be used to produce synthetic diamonds. The ethanol and water content, when heated and vaporized, form carbon structures under certain specific conditions, pressure and such. And that can be used to create a nearly identical to the real thing diamond.
That is super cool.
So before you throw out your
Tequila?
tequila,
Yeah.
if you haven't decided to want it anymore, just give it a thought.
So, I can't let too many episodes go by without mentioning a worm of some sort.
I'm looking at it right now. Bring it.
All right. So, the worm is actually, I found usually in mezcal as opposed to tequila. But do you know when it was introduced?
I don't know when it was introduced. I do know that it's a gimmick.
It is. It was introduced somewhere between the 1940s and 1950 by Jacobo Lorenzo Paez. Apparently, first to add a worm is a marketing strategy to enhance the flavor and the color of the drink.
Really?
Part of traditional Mexican diets are eating larvae of moths and butterflies. So it's not really a worm, it's a larva of a holometabolous insect.
Hmm.
So holometabolous is one that does a complete metamorphosis, like a moth or a butterfly. And there was a paper published in 2023 to see exactly which species it is. And so they did DNA analysis of worms from 21 commercially available mezcals, and they found that all of the larvae they sampled came from the agave redworm moth, lays
Okay.
its eggs near the very base of the agave leaves. And these are one of the most popular edible insects in Mexico, driven by beliefs that adding larvae to food leads to better health and is an aphrodisiac.
I did drink the worm before. I just thought it was a gross thing to do on a dare, and I got it down quick, and I did not feel anything. But
You might have gotten some health benefits out of it. You
yeah,
never
I might
know.
have gotten some health benefits. Maybe. But I did not know what I was drinking was mezcal, which apparently it must have been, and most likely. And I did not know until I was researching for this episode that it wasn't the worm at all, but rather a
Larva.
larvae of a moth.
Yeah.
We went to Cancun earlier this year. Do not go to Cancun during hurricane season, people. Just
Good
FYI.
advice. Solid advice right there.
It was actually kind of hard to find it. I was looking at all the different tequila. None of them with a worm. But towards the front of the shops, I found plenty, and that's when I realized. And they
Yeah.
put scorpions in there. They put
No, thank you.
moth larvae in there. I found a beetle. If you just wanted for the something to display,
Yeah, I
kind of a nice thing
suppose.
to have.
it's not part of my decor decisions to have just bugs in general displayed in the house. So it's a very beautiful hand drawing of a emerald green beetle done by a natural illustrator friend of mine. But that's as far as it goes.
That sounds actually kind of cool.
It is very pretty. She was a previous podcast guest.
Hmm.
Did you know that you can make hot sauce with liquor as the base instead of vinegar?
I did not know that vinegar was a base of hot sauce, but now I know both things.
I personally am a spice wuss. Cannot handle it. Can never have been able to handle it. Dimos, on the other hand, can, he's got like Teflon tongue. But a research team was curious if liquor-based hot sauces and vinegar-based hot sauces were the same. So they looked at the physicochemical properties, volatile compounds, microbiological quantity, sensory scores, a whole bunch of things in vinegar-based versus alcohol-based hot sauces. And this was published in the journal Food, another great name, in 2023.
Great name.
They compared hot sauces with different alcohol bases. So there's bourbon, tequila, and vodka. And they found that the liquor-based hot sauces had very different pHs, viscosity, color. They're called rheological properties, kind of like how it feels, which makes sense. It's a different base. But the changes in the rheological properties, which are how it deforms and flows when force is applied, that actually means that there's novel flavors and aromas in the liquor-based sauces. And they had a more diverse volatile organic profile. They performed better in the sensory scores for overall liking, aroma, flavor, and spiciness. So specifically, the bourbon and tequila-based sauces had a higher ratings, a higher purchase intent, like people would buy those more, but not the vodka, because vodka doesn't really impart much extra flavor. Like vodka's very...
It's a pretty bland.
Yeah, yeah. But I thought that was just...
By itself. Not that it's bad. Just...
No, it doesn't have a lot of flavor. So I thought that was interesting. A, that someone went through the trouble of trying to characterize the different types of hot sauces, and that the liquor-based ones apparently have some advantages. Again, if you don't want to drink your tequila, you could make a hot sauce with it.
Make a hot sauce. That actually sounds like a really fun thing to do. A lot of people think that tequila is drunk by shooting it. I guess you could. You can shoot anything.
You can.
But in traditional Mexican tequila culture, you sip your tequila very slowly. There's a whole culture called tequila sipping, and it emphasizes savoring the drink's complex flavors. And for some tequila sippers, as you're slowly, very slowly sipping your tequila, your waiter might come and top you off. Keep it going so you don't get to the bottom of your glass.
Interesting.
Which I find actually very cool. In some regions of Mexico, drinking your tequila with a piece of orange and some cinnamon is a very common mix.
I could see that.
The combination contrasts the bitterness of tequila. And one of the bigger customs in Mexico for drinking your tequila is El Caballito, which involves drinking tequila from very small and very narrow glasses, referred to as a little horse. That way you can better appreciate the aroma and the flavor of the drink.
I think we might actually have some of those.
Oh, cool.
So where I used to work had Christmas party every year, and people would make baskets and bring in items to auction off at the party, and the money would go to a HIV orphanage in Malawi.
There you go.
And so one year, a member of my team brought a kind of bespoke mezcal that her uncle made from Mexico with the glasses, and that was auctioned off. And I won the bid, and I will tell you that was some good mezcal. And so mezcal is very smoky. It's a smoky flavor because not usually a fan. It was really nice. And so, yeah, it was one of those ones where you would just sip it super slow. It was kind of opened my eyes to what mezcals and tequilas can be as opposed to what you often get here in the US.
Again, not my favorite drink.
That's fair. Absinthe wasn't mine.
Nor was it mine, nor is it now.
No.
I have always been around some people who they were the ones who were sipping their tequila and taking their time with it and appreciating it. That makes a lot more sense because I've only ever that tequila, I guess you could say, in a hurry. And
Yes.
it's a hard thing to get over. But I didn't know
Yes.
better.
Yeah, the things you do when you're young and dumb and someone hands you a shot glass.
It's a shot glass. Your instinct is to take care of it quickly. If it's a shot
Um,
glass of tequila, take your time.
well, a shot glass of good
Maybe.
tequila. You mentioned the orange and the cinnamon. It was during the
Hmm.
1918 flu epidemic that patients were instructed to drink tequila with lime and salt to soothe symptoms.
Oh man, it's time to be alive.
Oh, no. Not a good year. Not a good year.
I know. It's a joke.
But, and also something that came up with several times, though I'm not sure how scientifically accurate it is. So the agavins, the sugars in a tequila,
Hmm.
it's an indigestible sugar, so it moves to the body without being used for energy, and it prevents blood sugar spiking. It has been shown to stimulate metabolism, which is very different because most alcohol depresses your metabolism. So it's an
Right.
interesting, yeah, it's an interesting molecule.
Agavins. Oh
Yeah,
man, undigestible sugar.
it's cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
Mind blown type of thing.
that is all I had on tequila.
I wanted to cover tequila into diamonds and the salt tequila lime ritual thing. I got it.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
good. El Caballito.
I
Hello.
think you won the fact of the episode though. Tequilas into diamonds, like that's that's pretty cool.
I gotta find one. I
I
need to find a
know.
tequila diamond. I want one just so I can say I have it.
I feel like in general, I would like to know more about lab-grown diamonds. All right. That has been tequila and
Tequila.
tequila. Thank you for joining us. And as always, make sure you drink and science responsibly.
Thank you.
See you next
Be
time.
responsible. See you next time, all.